Welcome to 2020 Tasty Treats, and it's the program we're doing this year, and this is the house sampler block. There's actually a picture here of the blocks that we're going to be making. There's some samples over on this side, and this is the block that we're going to be making today. No roofs yet, roofs are coming later. So if you've already purchased the pattern from GourmetQuilter.com, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. If not, you can go to GourmetQuilter.com to purchase it. So the patterns are coming out each day, and we're just doing a little video to show you how it's all going. So according to the pattern, I've actually already cut my pieces out ready. They're fairly straightforward cutting, just some little rectangles, and the strips as the surround or my walls for my houses. So I'm going to go ahead and just lay the block out so that you can see how we're going to join them all up. Fairly straightforward block, just little strips joined together that are going to end up making squares. It tells you in the notes that your fabrics are A, B and C, so I've got A, B and C, and it tells me that I've got to make 3 that are a C and A together, so I can lay those together and go ahead and get those, but I can also just lay the blocks out so that we can see how it's going to go, and that may be just about as good as laying out the separate ones. So that one's going to go there, and then that one's going to go there, and then we've got a B and a C that are going to go there. So because we're going to make them into little rows, so we join the strips together and then they're ready to join those together to make the little rows. So then we need to make that one and that one. So I'm just looking at my diagram to see how these go together, because everything's labelled, we can kind of see that that's how it's going to work. And what we should end up with, which you can probably already see on the finished block behind me, is a little stepping down of colours diagonally across the block. So it's another way of checking that you've got everything in the right direction. So I'm not sure if you can see it when they're all in pieces and separated like this, but this colour here should be stepping all the way down, and same with this next colour, and again with the next colour, and then it comes in here as well. So that we're getting that sort of stepped look about things. So really we just now need to join all these together into pairs, and then lay it out again and set up, join up the little squares into the block. So I'll go ahead and join my strips together. It's really just using a 1/4 inch seam allowance and then pressing the seams probably to the darker colour, and it's really as simple as that. Just go ahead, you can chain piece them through. There's nothing too hard about this part of the job at all. So I'm just pressing my little pairs so that the colours are going in towards the darker colour. I like to press from the front. So that's those all done. Now I've got to lay it all out again because I've moved it all around, but that's good. Now I've got my pairs ready, and it'll look a bit more like it's going to look this time. And it would help if I get them around the right way, right from the start. Remember, we're looking for them to connect every time with the colour. So probably that one's going to go next, and then that one's going to go next, and that one's going to go there. That one, and then that one, so that I've got my colours, oops, nearly right, stepping down now. So now we can join these into 3 separate little rows so that we can then join the 3 rows together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that as well now. Again, you can actually chain piece these down if you want to, or you may not want to. You might rather just do the little row of 3. So I've got my 3 rows together, I'm just pressing them now. So the way I'm pressing them is because there's a seam up the middle here, it's going to want to make that a little bit cumbersome, so I'm allowing it to sit where it's most comfortable and pressing the seam into that strip on either side of the centre. So on this one here, I press the seams because of this one across into the middle, and so it naturally creates this alternating direction so that our seams will nestle nicely where they meet on those corners there. So I'm going to go ahead now that I've got that all laid out nicely and join my 3 rows up, and then we'll pop the sides and top and bottom on framework as well. So that's my last little bit of sewing for that part. We'll bring that iron over again, and this time I'm going to press the seams all in one direction, because otherwise you'd be going in lots of directions, which is not a good way to do it. Just make sure they're sitting nicely underneath. And there's a little block, but because we're putting these frames on to set them into the houses, we need to put the walls on the side now. So I've already cut my walls, and we just need to sew the sides on first, and then we need to sew the top and the bottom on afterwards, so that because they're a little bit longer and they'll go right the way across. So I'll go ahead and get that bit done. So I've gone ahead and I've finished the little block. It's got its little walls surrounding it, ready to go into the house with the roof. So because I'm making 2 colourways, although I have to say I am making 2 colourways, but the content, the blocks are going to be exactly the same. It's only the walls and the roofs and the background that I'm going to be changing. And so I think that's kind of looking quite good. So that's our block 2, ready to go into our little sampler quilts. So I'll see you again for block 3.